Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish podcast. I'm excited for you to get to hear this conversation today. We've brought in Maria Pulitano from our Rebuilt team. She's a coach and she is also the head of our Parish Transformation team. Now, Maria is going to share some of what makes our coaching process so special. She's going to share some of the ways that we help transform parishes, and she'll debunk some of the myths that you may have heard about parish coaching. Tune in and just listen carefully to hear what our secret sauce is that makes our coaches so special. We'll see you inside the episode. Well, hey there, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast again.
Hi, Melissa. It's so great to be here again. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is exciting because you have a new title from that you didn't have before when you were on the podcast last. So can you share that new title with everyone?
Yes, I'm the Head of Parish Transformation for Rebuilt, which is just such an exciting role because it encompasses our coaching and all things related to it, including our courses. So it's really an exciting role.
Well, you are the perfect person to talk to us about coaching and how we help transform parishes through coaching. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So you get to work closely with parishes every single day through coaching. How would you describe what parish transformation really looks like when it begins to take root in a local parish?
Yeah, so that it's really exciting, actually. When a parish decides that they really want to make a transformation, right? They become very mission focused and mission driven. So, the mission of the church is to make disciples. And so they do things that are intentionally going to help them make disciples. And it's a culture change, right? It's creating a clear discipleship path so that people can grow deeper in their faith. It's reaching outsiders who aren't currently coming to your church. And so it involves a lot of things that create a really welcoming environment and remove barriers so that people will want to come to your church, right? That they're going to get something out of it. There's something in it for them. And it really creates a culture change, which is just amazing. And you really start to see it and feel it at the same time.
Oh, I feel like, Maria, I heard all of the strategic anchors in there too.
Yes.
I love that. Now, we also know, and this is something that we hear from parishes who are maybe on the fence about coming to work with us, that there's a misconception about renewal that means that they're going to be copying another parish. How do you help those leaders understand that we're not trying to make mini nativities, but we're going to help them discern what will work in their own parish?
Yeah, Melissa, this is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand, right? We aren't trying to make mini nativities or any other parish, right? We're trying to use a framework that's a proven framework that works in any parish setting to make that parish the best version of itself. So we really offer examples. We can offer examples from Nativity, but we can also offer examples from other partner parishes. How did they get started? What did they do to overcome challenges, right? If they're trying to, for example, create a welcome desk and they don't have space, what are creative ways other parishes did that? That just gets the brainstorming started. That parish then determines their own best path, right? How might they implement that? What might it look like in their parish? If we're talking about music, the weekend experience, music is really important. We want it to be really exceptional. But it doesn't mean all the music has to be the same type of music at every parish, right? It's whatever works best for you and your congregation. We just want it to be consistent and consistently excellent. So that's really what it's about. It's not about creating mini nativities at all.
I'm so glad that you shared that, Maria, because I know that this is something that can sometimes hold parishes back from getting into coaching and transforming their parishes because they think, my parish is more of a Gothic cathedral style parish. I don't know that Nativity's music and screens are going to work here. But thank you for sharing that every parish has to do what's best for their own parish.
Yes, and we just try to guide them through the lens of the anchors, like you mentioned, right? Because those anchors matter regardless of what those outcomes end up being.
Definitely. Now, Maria, we talk about coaching as walking alongside rather than simply advising. So what does that look like in a real relationship with a pastor and parish team?
Yeah, I think that's what's so great about our coaching relationships, right? First of all, we're coming from a place of experience with working in a parish, right? So volunteering in a parish, a lot of our coaches are volunteers who have been volunteering in the parish. And then we have staff coaches that come alongside them. And what we do is we share, like I said, examples of things that might help them get the brainstorming started, right? But we come alongside them. We become part of a partner in this, right? We become part of their parish by extension. And so we're really invested in helping them and just helping them sort of frame things, think through their challenges, build their leadership team, kind of create their priorities. We ask them the questions that really spur some of those discussions and really help them getting thinking and getting them on track. So it's really a partnership. It's not us coming in and telling them what to do or how to do it, as much as it is a partnership in sort of talking through and just asking the right questions to get them thinking in the right direction and providing some guidance, like creating that leadership team, right? So if you get a core leadership team, the pastor's not doing it alone anymore.
Yes.
So it's really helpful to the pastor to take some of that off of his plate, right? And get a core group of advisors and people he trusts from his team. And sometimes those are volunteers and sometimes they're staff and sometimes it's a mix of both, right? So it's really helpful in guiding the parish and helping them make progress to move forward.
For sure. And Maria, something that I loved about being on the other side of coaching when my parish was in coaching was that it wasn't that, you guys shared with us so many great examples and walked alongside and helped us through things, but you were also an amazing sounding board too. Anytime we were going through something, and we went through some really hard times, especially when it came to staff, just having our coach to call and be a sounding board for us and walk us through that. There were times when I called my coach crying, "Can you help? Can we talk about this?" It's, because sometimes parish life can be tough. And I think that's one of the great things about having a coach is that, yes, the pastor is no longer alone anymore either, but the parish leaders on the team are no longer alone. You now have a lifeline to somebody else who is, I don't want to say a third party, but there's somebody else who can look at everything objectively, encourage you, and help you through it.
Yeah, what's so great about that too, Melissa, is, we often joke that your coach is on speed dial, right?
Yeah.
The pastor or any parish leader can call the coach and say, "This new challenge has come up. Can you coach us through it?" Right? We're going to change mass times. Can you help us come up with a communication plan? How do we work on, getting that, to be in, putting that out in the parish and getting people to be agreeable to it with the minimal amount of pushback, right? How do we handle that pushback when we get it? How do we not buckle under the pressure of that, right? Your coach is there for all of those things. But the other great thing, to your point too, Melissa, and that Gail mentioned the other day when she did her podcast, you also have a community now. So if you're going through something, and I've coached another parish who's gone through that already, I can also bring you together with another leader in another parish who's experienced that to talk through some of those challenges and how they overcame them. So you're not only getting your coaching relationship, but you're getting that whole community of support.
Maria, that is something that our parishes just tell us over and over again that they love. They love that they get to find peers all over the country and they get to walk through some of this with them and bounce ideas. And it was really fun at the conference when we got to see them getting together in person and they really made some of those connections. I can just think of, just one example who came and said, "I didn't feel like I had friends until I came here, until I was in coaching, and now I have all of these friends."
Yeah, it was amazing to see some of the pastors from across the country, right, who had only met on Zoom when they got together in person and how excited they were to meet each other in person. They do feel like they're really part of a group that is a very tightly knit group.
Yeah, it's incredible, especially when you're walking through some of those same struggles together and you're supporting each other and encouraging each other. It's more than just that coaching relationship. You're getting just those, how we say in small groups, it's friends in faith. Well, you're getting friends in faith and in work all at the same time.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Now, Maria, one of the things that I think really sets our coaches apart is that your team of coaches stays closely connected to each parish by watching their masses online every week, listening to the homilies, following along on social media. I mean, this is such a high level of attentiveness, right? That your coaches can come back and say, I heard Father's homily about this. I noticed, I mean, it's incredible. Talk to us a little bit more about why it's important that they're staying connected to the parishes this way.
Oh, it's just so great. Like I said before, you really become sort of a part of the parish, right? You're invested. As a coach, I want my parishes to succeed. I want to see all the exciting things that they're doing, right? So as we coach through some different things and we talk about homilies and even message series when they roll it out and how to do simple things like how to do announcements, not to have 25 announcements at the end of Mass every week, right? How to pare that down to maybe 3 key things, right? And then we get to watch those masses or visit the parish and see them live sometimes, right? It's so great to see the progress and then also see how they come alive when they start to realize the difference that that's making. Simple changes can sometimes lead to big results, right? So it's really exciting to kind of see that and be part of the parish with them. When I'm looking at social media for my parishes and I see the exciting things that happen that weekend, I want to reach out to them right away and tell them like, oh, I'm so excited about what's happening in your parish. So that it's got to be having that effect on the people in the parish as well.
Definitely. I think that it's just such a special way to stay just dialed in to what's going on day to day and week to week in each of the parishes. Now, Maria, we joked about the having your coach on speed dial, but let's talk a little bit about challenges. So when challenges do arise, how do your coaches support parishes in real time? What are some of those situations you're helping them navigate, whether communication, conflict, staffing? Tell us all of the things.
Yeah, it can be a lot of different things, right? So I mentioned earlier about changing Mass times. Like that's a big communication thing, right? So it's about really change management, offering them some change management principles of reminding people what stays the same, right? If you're changing Mass times, which might be hard on people, acknowledging that it might be hard on them, but also acknowledging that they're going to get the same great Mass experience. They're going to get the same message series. They're going to get the same music, whatever it might be that people are coming for, right? So helping them to see that and to see that they're part of that bigger picture, I think is a big part of it. It might be a conflict with a staff member. So if they're navigating a challenge with a staff member and having to give feedback to that staff member, a coach might role play that with them. They might talk them through some strategies. How would you approach it? How will you deal with it? How will you give that feedback? What's the best way to do that? So a lot of it is sort of bouncing those ideas off your coach and getting some guidance on ways to maybe practically do some of those things. A challenge, there can be all kinds of challenges, right? The challenge might be something to do with finances. And so we have resources and tools, and the coach can get those resources and share them with the parish. We can also bring in an expert, like in the case of finances, we can ask Ed Bradley to come into a session, right? And talk to our parish about strategies that might work. So the coach is really walking alongside them in those challenges. When we meet with our parishes, we meet every other week throughout the year with our parishes. And when we meet with them, we have sort of an agenda that goes like this. It starts with prayer, always, and then wins. We want to hear about all the great things in their parishes. And then it's challenges. What are the challenges they're dealing with that they want to talk about today? And then it's, whatever course they might be in, what's the progress on that project or that course that they might be doing? And so we kind of go through all of those things in the course of our meeting. But we ask them to bring us those challenges. But again, if it's a challenge that arises in between meetings, they can call and say, I just got a call from the bishop and I'm not sure how to handle this. What should I do? And we can be there for them. So I think that's what's so great about the coaching relationship. Hi, I'm Maria Pulitano from Rebuilt Parish. If you're longing to see real renewal in your parish, but you're not sure where to begin, you don't have to walk that path alone. Through Rebuilt Coaching, your parish is paired with 2 dedicated partner coaches who walk alongside you, encourage you, and help you to stay focused on what matters most, making disciples and strengthening your parish culture. We guide you through the rebuilt anchors with a clear course and coaching rhythm that gives you structure, support, and practical steps you can take right away. If you're ready for clarity, direction, and a team committed to your parish's growth, learn more about Rebuilt Coaching at rebuiltparish.com/coaching.
I agree. It's so nice to have the coaches that, you've got that regular rhythm where you're meeting with your coach and can talk through things. And it's so helpful that in between you can reach out to if you need to. Now, Maria, earlier on, you mentioned that one of the first things the coach helps do is clarify mission and vision for the parish. What are some of these other tools that you help with right in the beginning?
Yeah, it's a great question, Melissa. So what we try to do in the beginning is help the pastor, and typically a pastor will come in, not always, but typically with a second person. We call that the second chairperson. They'll bring somebody else into the coaching relationship early on with them. If they don't already have that person identified, then the coach would help them discern who that might be or if they should hire someone for that role. And then from there, we help them discern whom they might want on their core leadership team and what's the purpose of a core leadership team and who should they invite to be part of that and how should they go about doing it. So that's an early process. Then we look at the mission statement. So most parishes have a mission statement, but in most parishes, the mission statement is so long, no one can actually tell you what it is.
I'm laughing because ours was a whole page long, Maria.
Right?
Nobody could tell you anything of what was on it.
So many of our parishes are that way. And not that that's not a great explanation of your mission statement, but it's not something people can remember and hold on to and own. So we help them come up with a shortened version that allows people, sort of a tagline, right? That allows people to latch onto it and own it. So just as an example at Nativity, we say our mission statement at the end of our huddle every morning before we serve at Mass. We actually recite the mission statement. We have parishes in coaching who actually recite their mission statement now at the beginning of their staff meetings. So the mission statement is really what you're focusing everything around. It has to align to everything you do. All your work in the anchors has to align to your mission statement. So it's really helpful if we can help them figure that out. And then we help them sort of figure out a vision, like where do they want to go? Maybe where do they want to be in a year from now? What do they want it to look like? And from there, we can help them figure out a few priorities for that year, or maybe a few priorities for the next 3 or 6 months, right? We don't have to tackle the whole thing at one time. We're going to start small and help them sort of figure out what they want to work on first. When they start in coaching, they will often start before a course starts, but then in their first year, they're going to take our foundations course and then our leadership course. So that's going to set them up really nicely. If they have that core team established, if they know what their mission statement is, if they have a little bit of a vision and some priorities, when they get into learning about the anchors and then a deeper dive on the leadership and all the resources and guiding documents that we create there, that's going to really set them up for success for what they want to do.
I love that. So their first year is pretty much planned out as far as how we're going to help them. And that's how we start most parishes, right? By building that foundation with the foundations course and then leadership.
Yes.
And Maria, what I love seeing is how parishes just kind of take off after that first year, how you and the team do such a beautiful job of getting them that low-hanging fruit in the beginning to start building some momentum. And then when they start jumping into some of their courses that they get to pick out, whether it's message series or small groups or finance, that then they're just in it and making so much progress so quickly, which is just such a beautiful thing to watch.
Melissa, it is really beautiful. And what happens is, to your point about low-hanging fruit, right? In foundations and in leadership, we give them a list of things that could be considered low-hanging fruit. Simple things that they could maybe take some first steps with. But when they get to those other courses, as you know, in small groups, right? That's an implementation course. Mm-hmm. So now they're ready. They have all the foundations that they need to be able to go and implement something like small groups, or to implement something in the Grow Wider anchor, or to implement something in one of the other anchors, right? So they're ready and they have all the foundational things that they need in order to do that. And that's what's so great about it. They take small steps in the beginning, but they're building momentum And then that momentum is huge when they get to a course where they're going to implement something big like small groups.
Definitely. I love how intentional that is to make sure that they're set up for success before you send them running with something else. And once they are set up, I just can't emphasize enough how fun it is to watch them succeed with some of those bigger courses.
Yeah, it's really exciting when they come back and share their wins in those courses too. It's very exciting.
And I think this brings me to my next question, and I think it makes sense because in the beginning, a lot of times parish staffs are really small and stretched thin. I was just chatting with a parish leader who says, someone on their team is very concerned about coming into coaching because it's just really her and the priest there, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you coach leaders to delegate, empower others, and build a strong culture of volunteer leadership in the beginning so that the pastor does feel supported?
Yeah, this is such an important point, right? So one of the parishes that I coach has exactly that situation. There is a pastor and one staff member. So when we first talked about a core leadership team, he said, I don't have anyone to put on it. And we said, oh, but you do in your pews.
That's right.
He picked some amazing members, right, who joined him in this leadership effort and started creating layers of leaders from there. But he invited them to be part of his core leadership team. They come to our coaching sessions. They've been attending our courses, right? So it doesn't always have to be paid staff that are on that team or that are part of your efforts, right? But even with that, if you're trying to implement small groups, you may want to invite other people to help you to put that effort together. Just because the core leadership team is deciding what the next thing's going to be, like small groups, doesn't mean they have to be the doers of it.
Right.
And creating those layers of leaders really helps you to delegate and empower people, but also it helps them. There's something in it for them. They grow in their faith, right? They get to be part of the parish and part of the mission and take some ownership, and they're honored to do that. So the ask is so important. We often talk about asking from the pulpit and asking people, inviting them to serve in different ways. But that a personal ask from a pastor or a staff member or a volunteer leader even to take a next step and to help in some way, they feel very honored to be asked, right? So it's amazing the response. People rarely say no when they have a personal ask that's very intentional about their gifts and their talents and using them in the right way. And there is something in it for them, and they will grow deeper in their faith. And so those stories of life change coming from those people, those volunteers, is really, really big.
Maria, you nailed it when you said, asking them intentionally and bringing up their gifts and talents that they have. Because when somebody comes to you and says, Maria, I recognize that this is a gift of yours, and I really think that you could help the parish in this way. This is going to help you grow deeper in your faith, but you really could make a huge contribution. How can you say no to that? Right? It's so personal.
It's so personal and it's so meaningful, right? And then they become part of your movement, right? The movement for the culture change that you're trying to create. And that just creates, again, momentum, and it's contagious.
And now tell me more about this parish that you've coached where they started out with that one staff member and the pastor. What do their layers of leadership look like now?
So they have heads of ministry for all of their ministries. They do heads of ministry training, and quarterly, I believe, they have heads of ministry meetings. They pour into them spiritually, and they train them, and they enlist them in helping to recruit the next level of leaders and to getting other people engaged. So it's really become, it's just been amazing to watch it happen, right? It's really become such a great way for them to engage others in helping to do it and not taking on all that burden themselves.
Yes. And something that it can be tricky for people at first is delegating. But I know that your coaches are great at helping them see, okay, what can be delegated? So that way the staff, even if it is just a staff of a pastor and one staff member, can be hands-on in the development of the people, but hands-off in the task.
It's so important too in a small parish with a small staff, right? If they are not willing to ask someone else to come into that, into that world and help them, and if they're not willing to delegate, they're going to burn themselves out. They can't do it all. So it's really great when they're able to do that. And then, we've had people tell us in coaching, like one of the ways we know coaching is really working for us, I can go on vacation now and not have to check in because I could delegate and empower and trust someone because I set the expectations and I gave feedback and we got it to the place where I can trust them to just do it now. They understand what needs to be done and I can actually go on vacation and not have to check in. Like that's a big win, right?
Yes. What a blessing for those parish leaders who are out there completely burned out. I mean, being able to not just be a little bit more hands off, but be able to take a hands-free vacation, right? Where you don't have to worry about what's going on back at the parish. What a huge win. Now, Maria, I know that you mentioned wins already, but I feel like we have to talk about it a little bit more. So first, why is it important to measure our progress and recognize those wins and what God's doing along the way?
It is so important. So we recognize wins in a number of ways, right? One of them is metrics. So we actually do count. There are certain things that we count. So we track attendance because we want to see if the parish is growing on a regular basis. But we also want to be able to plan. So for example, if we have a cafe that's going to have coffee after Mass and the Mass attendance is growing and we didn't account for that, right? We're not going to have enough coffee or donuts or whatever it might be. So that's one thing. But it also would be helpful to us to know, are people inviting others? Are more people coming regularly? Are more people joining the church? Are more people registering? Are more people getting sacraments? How many people are in small groups? How many more are joining small groups? If we're providing content in our small groups that's meaningful, people are going to want to be part of it. And so it's going to grow. And that's how you're going to be able to tell that it's growing. So part of it is that measurement, right? How many people are engaged in some way, engaged in serving, engaged in small groups or in sacraments. Part of it, though, is stories of life change. It's the qualitative measures, right? So being at church, walking around, talking to people, hearing their stories, finding out why they're there, finding out what the church is doing in their life, what the parish means to them. Those stories of life change are also really important. Testimonials. It's amazing how many people have a story of life change that they're just waiting to tell. And so that's how you really start to know. And then you also know culture change in those stories when you hear someone say something to you like, I was greeted when I came in and I felt so welcome. I knew this was the right place for me because I felt so welcome. I didn't feel intimidated. I felt very welcome and comfortable. Those kinds of stories as well. So it's really about why we share wins, right? Because little wins can be really big culture change in the end. And so a win could be something, we had last year we had, 10 people in our young adults group. And this year we have 35 people in our young adults group. That's a significant increase, right? So what are we doing? And then we talk about that. Why? What happened? What changed? What are people coming to? Why are they coming? Because we want to make sure that we continue to evaluate and then improve on what we're doing, or at least maintain the things that are working really well. So we don't want to suddenly, we got 35 people now. We don't need to do anything else. They're here. We don't have, these people, they had their sacraments. We don't need to engage them in any other way. No, the life in the parish goes on. So we do want to engage them in another way. We want a discipleship path that leads them to the next thing.
Our 2025 Rebuild Conference was beyond all that we could ask or imagine. There were over 700 attendees from around the globe who came together to be inspired, encouraged, and equipped. This conference was created for parish leaders and diocese teams who are ready to transform and renew their communities. Did you join us? Did you learn new ideas, ways to strengthen your mission? Are you ready to join again or for the first time? Save the date. May 2nd through May 4th, 2027, the Rebuild Conference is returning to Timonia, Maryland. This gathering is more than a conference. It is an opportunity to come together with pastors and parish leaders from around the world who are committed to building healthy, growing, mission-driven parishes. For now, save the date, May 2nd to May 4th, 2027, at Church of the Nativity in Timonia, Maryland. Details and registration will be coming in months ahead, so stay tuned. We cannot wait to welcome you.
It's so good. And especially for those parishes Well, really, whether they're in the beginning of coaching or if they've been in coaching for 5 years, starting out every session with the wins and being able to track that progress. First, it gives God the glory, right? Of all of the great things that he's doing in their parish and through them. But then it also is so encouraging. When I think about in the very beginning, how difficult change can be, but to celebrate those little wins of, hey, we started our welcome desk or whatever it was, just to be able to share those wins kind of helped build our confidence in change as well. And I love seeing that in these other parishes, especially when they come into some of the courses and they share their wins, where sometimes in the very beginning, they think it looks really hard. And by the end of the course, they were like, oh, wow, our goal was to have 100 people in groups and somehow we have 250. Wow. It's really great to see them, just build up their confidence as time goes on.
And that's a culture shift that they make in their teams too. So I love when my parishes tell me, at the beginning of our staff meeting, we do wins, right? They also carry that forward because it allows not just the people who are meeting with their coaches to celebrate those wins, but in the whole parish now they can celebrate. Everyone on the staff can celebrate wins.
And really, that gives the staff something to bring into the wins meeting with the coaches too. There might be wins that the pastor might not have even known about if it weren't brought up at the staff meeting. What a great idea. Now, Maria, you mentioned that some of our coaches are volunteer and some of our coaches are staff, and they bring some incredible lived experience. How does that help shape the way parishes are supported and encouraged?
Yeah, so I love our partner coaching model, right? We have a staff coach with a volunteer coach. And what's really great about that is they all have the same training. They all go through the same, we call it our coach boot camp. They all go through that in order to prep for our coaching and understand and really know our model. But a lot of our volunteer coaches are from Nativity, not all, but have actually lived that transformation at Nativity. They've been with Nativity throughout the whole transformation. So they're able to share those experiences. And even our coaches who belong to another parish, they can share their own personal experiences as the person in the pew who was tapped on the shoulder and invited into ministry, right? They can share how they felt about that. They can share how the message and the homily really speaks to them and which homilies really motivated them to maybe do something different or take a next step. They can share their own experiences from across the discipleship path, right? And they can also share their experiences from being a minister at the parish. And so when they're trying to give examples and help with coaching and ask the right questions to help a parish get to that next hurdle, they can use their real lived experiences from the other side to help a parish see what would it look like and what would it mean to the people in your pews.
Yes. I think that's one of the great things about having these volunteer coaches. I mean, we still always have the staff coaches too, but the volunteer coaches can share that lived experience. But then what I think is a little bit of our secret sauce with our volunteer coaches is that they have such wide varieties of backgrounds. We have coaches that are running multi-million-dollar businesses and are just volunteering to do this to help parishes because they believe in the mission. They're taking time every week for coaching and attending courses and attending the regular coach training. You've got coaches out there who have worked in the Catholic world and have seen so many other parishes. And I mean, it's just incredible, Maria. And I think that really sets us apart with coaches is that they've got such a wide variety of experience, both in the church and outside of the church.
Absolutely. We have so many skills and talents on our coaching team. It's just been amazing.
It's exciting. Now, Maria, for a pastor or a parish listener or a parish leader who's listening and wondering if this type of parish transformation is possible for their parish, what would you say to encourage them to take a next step?
So the first thing I would say, if you're actually wondering if there's possibility for your parish to transform, you've already taken a step. Because you've already recognized that you want something better and bigger for your parish. It doesn't mean your parish is bad today, right? It just means you want something better and bigger. So the first step I would say is get together with a couple core leaders in your team, right? Get together with a couple of your ministry leaders or staff members and talk about what's possible. Start visioning what's possible for your parish. And then maybe take a look at our workshops and our podcasts to kind of get a feel for some of the things that we talk about in relation to the anchors. And then that way, it'll kind of give you an idea. Do we want to maybe make a call and try to take a next step with Rebuilt? And I think coaching can be so valuable to you to help you move the needle, right? To have people, like Melissa said earlier, to bounce ideas off of. And I think it can be so valuable. But I think that, generate a little excitement around that parish transformation first. What can it be and what do we want it to be? And that'll really help guide you. And then the decision will be easy.
For sure. And if they're, doing all of this and discerning and realize that, yes, coaching does seem like the next right step, then they can reach out to Bill or Natalie to book a call and just get a little bit more information.
Absolutely. You can go to rebuiltparish.com and find their information on how to reach them.
For sure. And we'll have all of that in the show notes too. Well, Maria, thank you again for taking time to pour into this community. I'm so grateful that they got to hear just how you're helping to transform parishes and just what rock stars our coaches really are.
We're so excited. Our coaching team is the best.
For sure. Well, thank you to all of our listeners. We will see you next time.
Thank you, Melissa.